So Bria Hartley is driving in. Sophie Cunningham, or Kelsey Mitchell comes down. Sophie Cunningham overhelps. And Bria Hartley just kind of plows through her leg by the looks of things. She kind of plows through the knee. And Sophie's holding like her patella.
Sophie Cunningham. Oh, man. I got to tell you. This victory, it came with a big price. Bria Hartley, let me just start there because we've got Sophie Cunningham's sister and mother weighing in on the league. And Bria Hartley right here. This is Hartley right here coming in.
Slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls
and she crushes in on the knee of Sophie right here.
She went down hard.
And that was it.
You can literally hear her screaming in pain through your screen. Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever's enforcer, lying on the court clutching her knee while conspiracy theories explode across every corner of social media. Her family is calling for federal investigations. Fans are demanding boycotts, and Skip Bayless just dropped a bombshell theory that has the entire WNBA shaking. What happened in that arena wasn't just another injury. It was the smoking gun that finally exposed what many believe is the league's systematic destruction of its biggest stars.
As an Indiana Fever fan, this absolutely sucks. I mean, first we lose CC. We don't know when she's coming back, if she's coming back. And now this happens to Sophie Cunningham. Are we just cursed?
This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it.
The collision happened so fast that most people missed it on the first watch. Bria Hartley driving to the basket, Sophie Cunningham sliding over to help defend, and then the sickening sound of impact as Hartley's full body weight crashed directly into Sophie's right knee. The way she immediately grabbed her patella, the way she couldn't put any weight on that leg, the way she hobbled off the court in visible agony. This wasn't your typical basketball contact. Sophie's sister Lindsay didn't waste any time calling it what she saw, a targeting. Her mother Paula went even further, posting that Hartley plays mean and out of control before apparently deleting her comments when the backlash got too intense. The photos that went viral afterwards were described as horrible by multiple outlets. You could see the exact moment Sophie's knee buckled, the unnatural angle, the pure terror on her face as she realized what had happened. 10 minutes into the game, and the Fever's defensive anchor was done for the night. But this injury wasn't happening in isolation. It was the latest casualty in what's becoming the most suspicious injury epidemic in professional sports history.
It looked bad. She's going to be done for the year. I don't know how much longer the Indiana Fever can continue to survive with these injuries. I just have to be honest. I got to be real. We lost Sydney Colston to a torn ACL. Ari McDonald broken bone in her foot. Caitlin Clark has played like 12 games all year or something like that. DeWanna Bonner scammed us. I mean, it's been a complete shit show, to say the least. It's been a shit show. I just got to be honest.
Caitlin Clark has missed 20 games this season. 20. Let that sink in for a moment. The player who single-handedly brought millions of new eyeballs and billions in revenue to women's basketball has spent more time on the medical table than on the court. First, it was a left quad strain that kept her out for weeks. Then, a left groin injury just as she was finding her rhythm. Now, a right groin problem that's had her sidelined for over a month with no clear return date. Every time the medical staff says she's making progress, every time fans get their hopes up, every time it looks like she might return, boom, another setback. These aren't random muscle pulls from poor conditioning or bad luck. Former Iowa coach Lisa Bluter didn't mince words when she talked about the physicality Clark faces night after night. The scouting report isn't just to stop her purse, it's to be physical. But there's a massive difference between competitive basketball and what we've been witnessing. When Stephanie White says the level of physicality has reached a different level than it's been in years, that's not coach speak. That's a warning shot that the league is letting things get dangerously out of hand.
I mean, immediately in the game, the refs was just on some ish, bro. Just on something, and y'all know what I always say, man. What if Sophie or somebody was your aunt, your niece, your daughter? You know, you got to put yourself in reality, you know, because she is somebody's daughter, she is somebody's sister, and this is just unfortunate. And those of you who don't think a civil rights investigation need to be brought upon this league is tripping. This civil rights investigation.
But Clark's injuries are just the tip of this twisted iceberg. Sydney Colson went down with a torn ACL that ended her season instantly. Akari McDonald suffered a broken bone in her foot that required surgery. Now, Sophie Cunningham joins the casualty list with a knee injury that has her family ready to file lawsuits. 4 key players from one roster, all suffering significant injuries in a span of months. You know what normal teams lose in an entire season. Maybe one starter to injury if they're really unlucky. The Indiana Fever entered this season with legitimate championship aspirations. Vegas had them as serious contenders behind only New York and Las Vegas. They built what they called a win-now team with veterans who understood how to compete at the highest level. Even Cheryl Swoops, arguably Caitlin Clark's biggest critic, predicted they'd win the 2025 championship. Now they're signing emergency replacement players just to field a complete roster. They've gone from title favorites to praying they can stay healthy enough to make the playoffs.
Sophie Cunningham lying down, clearly in pain, visible pain, agony pain, stays down. Got to cut to commercial. The medical staff comes around her. She looks like she walked off on her own accord, but it looked like she walked off in pain on her own accord. Out for the rest of the game. Only played 10 minutes. And that's where Lexi Hull needed to step up, and step up she did. Step up she did.
Lindsay Cunningham's social media explosion wasn't just a frustrated family member venting online. Her post calling the WNBA pathetic for focusing more on finding players than protecting them hit a nerve because it exposed the league's backwards priorities. Sophie has been fined multiple times this season for calling out referee incompetence. First, a $500 penalty for a TikTok video where she called officials useless after watching them allow dangerous play after dangerous play. Then $1,500 for more criticism. The total? Over $2,000 in fines for telling the truth about what everyone could see with their own eyes. The cruel irony writes itself. Sophie gets punished for pointing out that referees aren't protecting players, then gets injured because those same referees failed to protect her from a reckless play. Every fine the league imposed basically proved her point better than any argument could. And here's the kicker. Every time she got fined, fan support grew stronger. GoFundMe campaigns covered her penalties within hours. Petitions demanding referee accountability pulled in thousands of signatures overnight. The WNBA thought they could silence criticism with sanctions, but they only amplified the voices calling for change.
Sophie's sister Lindsay and her mom Paula. At WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie Cunningham. Yeah, officially, my 2 favorite players in this league that I really love to, particularly love to pull for, they're both out now. And it did not look good. No word on that, by the way.
Social media detectives started connecting dots that painted an even darker picture. The timeline is impossible to ignore. Early season, Clark suffers her first injury just as she's finding her groove. Mid-season, she returns and immediately gets hurt again after having her best game against the defending champions. Late season, with Clark still out, 2 more key players go down in the same game. Now Cunningham joins the list after being one of the most vocal critics of officiating standards. At what point do we stop calling this coincidence and start investigating systematic targeting? The league has 13 teams total, and 8 make the playoffs. Over half the league reaches the postseason. Yet the Fever, despite having multiple All-Stars and the most popular player in women's basketball history, are fighting for their playoff lives because their roster keeps getting decimated by random injuries.
Cunningham is down. My goodness.
You can literally hear her screaming in pain. It's so heartbreaking. Indiana Fever star guard Sophie Cunningham, the enforcer, had a lower leg injury today against the Connecticut Suns.
The conspiracy theories aren't coming from fringe message boards anymore. Skip Bayless recently suggested that Clark might be done for the season, floating the idea that forces within the league don't want to see her succeed. Former coaches and players are speaking out about obvious bias in officiating. Video evidence of missed calls and dangerous plays spreads faster than the league can control the narrative. Christine Brennan of USA Today captured the mood perfectly after one particularly egregious non-call. The WNBA failed to rise to the occasion. People are watching like never before, and this is what they witness. The financial implications are staggering. The Fever's playoff odds have dropped from over 99% to 87% as these injuries pile up. They've fallen from 6th to 7th in the standings, with teams like Seattle and LA breathing down their necks. ESPN's Power Index still gives them decent chances, but that number drops every game Clark sits on the bench. Their championship window isn't just closing, it's slamming shut, not because they weren't good enough, but because the league allegedly allowed their core to be systematically removed from competition.
And they got a damn lawsuit. It is Sophie as well. It's Sophie as well. Just the amount of calls, the way she's been treated. Watch it. I mean, just immediately. First, look at this. Instantly into the game. Instantly. Immediately, Sophie got hammered. They had a target to hurt Sophie. She was targeted by this team for a reason. They wanted to hurt Sophie. They made it their business to hurt Sophie.
Think about this from the WNBA's perspective for a moment. Clark and the Fever brought massive attention to women's basketball, but they also exposed how inferior the rest of the product was. Casual fans tuning in for Clark were witnessing blowout victories and highlight reel performances that made other teams look amateur by comparison. The league needed to level the playing field, and what better way than to remove the Fever's competitive advantages through unfortunate injuries? The head of officiating, Monty McCutcheon, claims they're really good about holding referees accountable. But where's the accountability when Clark gets shoved to the ground and officials call it a common foul? Where's the accountability when Cunningham gets taken out by what looked anything but accidental? Where's the accountability when players keep getting hurt because referees refuse to control the game?
I told y'all Bria Hartley is a dirty player. She's no different than Dejanay Carrington. It just doesn't get as much publicity because the Connecticut Sun stink. Point blank, period. She's reckless. She injured Sophie Cunningham, and it is a travesty. Stephanie White, you better go and you need to be buying Kelsey Mitchell food all week. You need to send her a personal masseuse because she saved your job tonight. Your ass should have been fired if y'all would have lost today. Point blank and period. You was horrible. Bro, before you could sneeze, achoo, we was down by 10 plus points in the first quarter.
Paula Cunningham's deleted social media posts about Bria Hartley playing mean and out of control tell you everything about what families are really thinking behind closed doors. When a player's mother feels comfortable calling out specific opponents for dangerous play, when sisters are demanding civil rights investigations, when GoFundMe campaigns raise thousands to pay league fines, this goes way beyond normal sports frustration.
There's only 13 teams in the WNBA. 8 of them go to the playoffs. Not 6, not 4, 8. Over 50% of them go to the playoffs. So when you are supposed to win games that you're supposed to win, you're supposed to just take care of business. I don't care if they lost Caitlin Clark. They still have Kelsey Mitchell. They have Aaliyah Boston. Sophie Cunningham. Hope she feels better. Lexi Hall. They have talent on this team. They have enough talent. Howard.
The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented attention, record viewership, and mainstream coverage. Their response has been to let referees turn games into demolition derbies while punishing the players brave enough to speak up about it. They're getting the biggest spotlight in league history, and they're using it to showcase incompetent officiating and suspicious injury patterns that have fans questioning everything.
And we have no idea when Caitlin Clark is coming back or if she is coming back at all. Every time that they get asked, they just say TBD. We have no idea what's going on, which is, in my opinion, quite suspicious. You kind of know what is going to happen with an injury. The doctors can give you an estimate. The player can tell you, you know, I'm not really feeling that great. I don't expect to be coming back, but she has been practicing with the team. Maybe she's going to come back for the playoffs and help them get that championship, or at least try to get the championship.
What makes this situation even more explosive is the league's complete silence on the conspiracy theories. No statements defending their officiating standards, no explanations for why one team is suffering this level of injuries, no accountability for referees who let games get out of control, just more fines for players who dare to criticize what everyone can see happening.
Sophie's mother, Paula, Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's plain mean and plays out of control. So, what can you say? I do not blame Sophie's mother and sister for being upset. Marina Mabrey went nuts in this game, scored 27.
The Cunningham family's outrage represents something bigger than one injury or one game. It's the voice of everyone who's watched this season unfold and wondered if what they're seeing is really just bad luck. When Lindsay calls the league's priorities pathetic, she's speaking for millions of fans who are tired of watching their favorite players get hurt while officials look the other way.
This is a play where Sophie Cunningham is dribbling toward the baseline. As you can see, she catches the ball on the wing, dribbles down, and then JC Sheldon kind of body checks her out of bounds, but the referee didn't call a foul there. He just called it an out of bounds, like Sophie Cunningham ran out of bounds is what he called. So you watch her here, dribbles, pushed out of bounds. Sophie's like, oh, of course, it's going to be a foul. No, it wasn't. That wasn't a foul. This one, she actually quote tweeted herself. As you can see, she's running up and then Hartley kind of elbows her in the neck and Sophie falls to the ground. Now she reposted this and she said, they said I flopped, LOL. So I guess the referees told her that she flopped on that play, or the players, who knows. Somebody told her that she flopped on that play. This is Aaliyah Boston and Tina Charles, and they are battling in the post. And then you can see
as Sophie Cunningham recovers from her knee injury and Caitlin Clark remains sidelined with mysterious recurring problems, the conspiracy theories aren't going away. They're getting louder, more detailed, and harder to dismiss. The evidence is piling up in ways that make even skeptics start asking uncomfortable questions. Whether this is systematic targeting or the most unfortunate string of coincidences in sports history, one thing is certain: the WNBA has a crisis of credibility that threatens to overshadow everything they've built. The fans aren't buying the excuses anymore, and the injuries keep coming. The question isn't whether this looks suspicious, it's whether anyone in power cares enough to do something about it before the league destroys its own golden goose.